Hello everybody, today we're going to be doing level 2 of Virtual Riot sound design puzzle. Now before we get into that, I quickly want to mention my own puzzle that I've been working on. This is the exact same concept as Virtual Riot made, and given that he left a comment under my video saying that he was also interested in the puzzle, I sent this one to him, and I'm also going to be making it available up on my Patreon page. It also works with Serum, it's just instances of Serum that you have to recreate. And what I've done instead of what Virtual Riot did, where he had a step-by-step of each patch, is I have done that in a text document, where it's just going to give you a bunch of different hints, which should allow you to recreate the patches. Anyway, let's get into the part that you guys are actually here for, which is recreating sounds like this. 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 Also this, and this, and even more. And the last one is this one over here. So as you can hear, these sounds are a little bit more complex sounding than the ones that we made in the last video. And if I go into the step-by-step part, as you can see, there's 6 steps instead of 4 for each sound. So this is going to be quite a bit harder than the last one that we did.
You're goddamn right.
Again, what I've done is I've added the MIDIs on their own track so that we can quickly just create a track for a patch, copy over the MIDI without having to go into the actual individual things over here. Again, as to not spoil what we're actually trying to create. So I'm just going to open up my first Serum and we'll get started. Sounds like some noise maybe added. Longer release for sure. Sounds very close already. Honestly, that went really fast. I feel like maybe the mid-range is a little bit more stronger in his version.
It just makes it sound very, very way more stronger.
It's also more attacky almost. It's biting a little bit more. Maybe we go to an envelope like this. And then distort it a bit to get it back. Now it sounds a little bit too distorted, maybe like this. Okay, so now this sounds too strong. I'm going to go to -3 here, compensate a bit there. Still feel like there are some small differences, but I wouldn't be able to say what those were. I'm actually going to try to use this stuff over here, just playing it through and seeing if I can guess just by playing it what is happening step by step. I wouldn't be able to say what the last step is here. I think it's normal saw waves, added an octave higher, detune the lower octave, detune the higher octave, add release, and then, I don't know. Oscillator A and B, a saw wave, oscillator B an octave up, unison, 16 voice of unison to the both of them, and then the detune up. Envelope, release, sub-oscillator on saw wave, and noise as the bright white. I'm assuming that's the name here. Okay, let's see how that compares in the synth itself, or how that looks in the synth itself. First of all, again, using basic shape saw wave here, I don't think that matters. It's interesting to see this amount of detune being used. This is normally really excessive for what I would personally use, I guess. But then again, I don't really use like very big super saws like this. There is a modulation over here which is set to the master tuning, but again, isn't doing anything because the output is set to 0. I cannot click on it because then it resets. And of course, all of these effects over here are turned off. So it is a pretty easy patch when you look at it, but I wouldn't have guessed both the maximum amount of voices, first of all. I wouldn't have guessed adding another saw wave into that. Because honestly, when you have 16 of them, I don't think you hear a 17th. The noise, I got the fact that there was noise in there, but I just used the default one, yeah. And of course, therefore, the whole spiel with the envelope is different. I don't know where he gets his slightly attacky feeling from that I thought was there. There's no effects on it here. Moving on to the second sound over here. There's a little click at the end there. It suggests that whatever modulation you're using for the filter that is doing the zap, which I think is a low pass filter, I think that is done with an LFO. And the reason why I say that is because what is most likely happening is that this is one long MIDI note, which it is. And therefore, if we open up Serum, what will happen is that there's 3 beats here. 1, 2, 3. And that is going to be the exact length of the note. And also the exact length of the LFO, which is going to do our little zappy thing. But then there's 15 milliseconds of release here. And therefore, this LFO has a little bit of time to reset once again and just start playing over here before the release actually cuts off the sound. And that is the reason why I think an LFO is used here.
You didn't have to cut me off. Think I like it never happened before we were nothing.
And of course, the fact that it's one long MIDI note. But yeah, you wouldn't be able to hear or see that if the clip was closed. So I think it's going to be bipolar modulation like this. Now, from the name, we have square chords. So let's also implement that. And I'm feeling a little bit of detune on this. Modulation is already off. I think I can hear another octave above it. So I'm going to go there, there, there. Okay, then I don't know what I'm hearing. It's like there's an extra note on top. Is that nice, like... So as you can see, I'm currently editing this version of the video, and about that note thing that I just said, no, I'm not going to get the fact that it's +7 semitones in the second oscillator. Well, it seems stupidly obvious now, of course, but I'm actually never going to get this in the original recording. I have to find this out by just looking into the patch. Alright, so you just interrupted me while I was sound designing and just having fun? That is very, very rude. Can I please continue with what I was doing? Yeah, I know, I just needed a good opening to join the video. I just actually wanted to talk about the sale that I'm currently running over on my Gumroad and my Payhip pages. Like, I think the viewers would be happy to know that because they can get like 30% off discount off of all of my products. So I just wanted to inform the people about that going on, and really that's all that I wanted to do here. Well, you've done that now, so let's get back into the video, okay? Again, I'm going to go through the individual steps here. I don't know what that first step is. Is that just an octave? Let me go back, start from scratch. I mean, this wasn't that much to do anyway. Start with this. And then we need to get to this. I'm wondering if it's either octave Clearly not. So is it then a sine wave? No, right? Oscillator B square at +7 semitones. Aha! Then from there it should be easy. So this 7 semitones up, going through the filter. Modulation was somewhat like this, and then knowing Virtual Riot, this is probably just 16 voices on both of them. Of course, the resonance for laser. This version feels a little bit zappier, which suggests there's some modulation on the resonance here. Feels like the start of the sound of mine is more aggressive. There's a click to the start of it where this has more of softer in. I don't think though that that's attack. Turns out it was exactly that. Moving on to the next one. This one should be a little bit easier because I think I know the principle behind this. This is what is called as a crooker bass, which I believe goes like this, 3 octaves up, and then distortion up. Just to test if I get the texture right. That's the texture that you get from the distortion between two sine waves. What we now, of course, need is that pitch modulation and all of the other fancy stuff that he's doing. I like his low frequencies, very strong sub bass. I think that may be one of these. Okay. Now we need that pitch effect. I want to do that the other way around with decay so that we can modulate up. And then we set that to master tuning here. Feel like the principle is there. Maybe this needs an octave higher. I mean, yeah, that's it. He has a very, like a vibrato in there. Right, vibrato is the pitch one, right? Not 16 notes. LFO 1, 2, master tuning. Of course, his sound nicer and fuller, and mine sounds emptier and grittier. Sounds hollow. Maybe it doesn't need the sub then. Yes, his sounds nicer and better in every way possible, but that's just because Virtual Riot made it. Anyway, let's see if we can get a little bit more information by just playing all of them again. Okay, so this is just set oscillator A to the sine wave at the oscillator B sine wave 4 octaves higher. At the distortion, set up the pitch modulation for it to go up, set up the vibrato LFO, and then time the vibrato LFO faster. That's what I'm hearing. I don't think he's playing with stuff like the delay and the rise and stuff. I doubt that that's part of it, but let's just see what we have here. All right, so 2 sine waves over here. This is nothing new. We have our attack, which he did in the same way as I did, where it goes from down up with the decay, so that you don't have to like tune the actual oscillator. You can just have it pitch down in probably the master tuning here. And then we also have the same setup that I had, bipolar for the vibrato. His is just a little bit faster, and the distortion is the same. So then why does his sound better? Is it literally just the timing here? It's slightly different in timing here. This is 175, right? Yes. And then it's a little bit lower. And this was set to 9.1 hertz. Does that make it the same? No. That's because the phase randomization is down. That's why. Mine always has these 2 sine waves starting out of phase, because what are the odds that the phase of both sine waves with the randomization land on the exact same point? Still feels like, for some reason, mine is like it has some kind of wobble to it, and this feels like it has a nice, smooth, high frequency content that is the same throughout the whole thing. Whereas mine feels like there's some kind of gritty tone into it. This feels smoother. Oscillator B volume up. Oscillator B, because of the relationship between these 2 things going into the distortion, how many overtones you're going to get from this versus that one probably changes the tonality, and that's probably what's... Yeah, this is what I was hearing. That kind of crunchiness that we get out of here, those individual like higher frequency crunches. And now with this higher, that just smooths out. Okay, cool. Next one. Getting a little bit more of a nicer sound as opposed to a bit more of an aggressive one. So as the name suggests, we are going to need some triangles. Let me get basic shapes. Feel like it's even longer in release. And then there's a delay effect, which sounds like 1/16 to me. It's like a wobble to it, but only in the tail. Definitely a different effect, but we are close. So I'm going to move on to listening over here. This is again one of those tricks where he's doing stuff with semitones and not with octaves. That isn't just the release, right? Maybe it is. Then detune. Wait. There's a detuned version. So this is detune only. And then he adds a normal triangle back in there. And it sounds like they're alternating. I'm just going to open up to see if that is what is happening here. Yeah, envelope 1 to oscillator B, and then oscillator B unison up. 1.5 seconds. Okay, so mine was a little bit longer. We can fix that, but not really going to matter. So this is normal basic shapes, and we copy that over and give it maximum detune. So now we have... Scared that now the detune value is not in the right spot. Let's set it back into the default. That does sound kind of like it. Envelope 1, oscillator B level. Envelope 1? I thought it was like coming in over time. Right? It starts off not detuned and then it becomes detuned over time. Why then would the envelope do that? Let's say that what is happening is that all of the individual nodes has some attack to it on only this oscillator. Why would you do that with envelope 1? You would do that with envelope 2, no? I'm confused, so I'm just going to open up. It's invert. It's only part of the release. Aha. Okay, and then we have another thing that we missed, which is the master tunings thing, which I didn't set up yet. Okay, but that's super cool. So you do it like this. Okay, and then we just set a master tuning, like set this to like 1, and then I still have a delay on there. Yeah, no delay. Cool. Nice. That's the same. Next up is this thing over here. That sounds very, very deep. So I think this is based on 2 sine waves FMing each other. And then we have an envelope on top of that. Or a filter. Like this, right? Just have it open up and then close again. Like a wobble. It definitely stays open too long, the volume here. And now this one has a different tonality to it, but I think the idea is the same. So it would be fine-tuning the FM amount, I guess. Or having to set different phase amounts, or maybe it's another octave higher. And then there's a very nasally feeling to it. There is a slight chance that he is using a bit of distortion after this filter. Still has more nasally sound to it, and I also think it's a bit longer. So I am willing to see, to be honest, I think what is going to happen is that at some point it's just going to get that final FM tone. It's going to set up sine waves and whatnot, and then somewhere you have to set up the FM, and that's where the tone is going to come from. Okay, so the tone does change significantly here, which I assume means that he is indeed using distortion, but I guess we'll find out. He is modulating the amount of FM that he's using. Oscillator A to assigned, oscillator B plus 10 cents. Wait, what? Plus 10 cents and volume 0. plus 1 octave. Why? Ah, I mistook the O for a 0. Aha, okay. Yeah, so no, the octave, yes, okay. And then we have FM from B. I guess this is a, yeah, that makes sense. And then a high pass. Okay, yeah, I wouldn't have guessed this. I would have, because I've done this kind of sound, I've made this kind of sound before, and I always remember when you're doing these kind of sounds that it felt like there was always a little bit of like crunchy high frequencies coming out of the FM that I didn't want, and you just want that deepness. Or if you're doing like a pluck out of it, right, when you're creating something like a donk, then you kind of take that for the transient and then you quickly shut the low pass filter to like lower here. So I don't know why the high pass. Maybe it's just the exact tuning of the FM amount and the fact that for most of it, it almost turns off the volume not all the way for some reason, but I don't know why that is. Anyway, this is actually very interesting. This is something that I would have never guessed. To use a high pass there, yeah, no, that I would have never gotten that. All right, so it's definitely taking me longer to make these than it took me to make the last ones, because I've been recording for 45 minutes now and I've only done half of them, whereas in an hour last time I had done all 10. Let's hope this one gets a little bit easier. I'm looking forward to that next one. I think I might know what is happening there. Here, I think we start with sine waves. Sounds like there's 2 octaves. And then one of those pitch click thingies. This is going to be hard to get the details right. Feels like his is just an octave higher. I'm assuming for the puzzles that there's always an oscillator at octave 0. You would have this an octave higher then, wouldn't you? Okay, closer. But this needs to go down. Is it even there? Like there is some high frequency clicks going on, but there's other ways of doing that. Like very fast. I think that's it, right? Of course, his has more release and whatnot. Maybe some stereo voices, just... This one still has a much nicer click, and this is one of those where I would be spending like another 10 hours in order to get the details right, so I'm just going to move on to see what he's actually doing. I'll try just quickly listening to this to see if I can get some more information out of it. Octaves, release. I don't know what this is. It almost sounds like a little bit of noise is added, but I don't know why adding noise would get you from to that high frequency sparkle effect. But it also sounds like there's some mid-range, like muddiness in there. So that is why I'm thinking it's noise as opposed to like anything else. It sounds a little bit, I guess it's not, no, because it feels not random enough. Like the like muffling feeling that you hear, it's happening the same every time. I also don't know what this is. Whatever effect is being turned on here is, of course, I guess being tuned here, and here you have the dry wet being modulated and then reverb added. Those last two steps I'm pretty confident about. Delay and reverb, yes. Envelope. Sample and hold filter. Aha. So that's a very similar process to what we are doing, which is just quantizing the waveform. The last puzzle that we did, he did quantization with this thing over here. I again forgot about that. But it is indeed true that another way to quantize is using sample and hold, which, as you can see, also does like quantization. Looks a little bit strange in the graph. It's not actually applying this to the spectrum. At least I don't think that would be how you would implement that. So let's actually have a quick look at the patch, just to see what's happening here. Yes, the mix being modulated like this, that makes sense. So we have 2 octaves, no detuning whatsoever. Okay. We have a long release, 1.5 seconds. The sustain down. Interesting. And then simple delay and reverb, which aren't default settings, but I mean, simple enough, right? Okay, moving on to the rest bass. Now, for those that don't know, I used to actually make mid-tempo for quite a while. I think like 2 years I did that before I went into psytrance. So the idea that is being used here, I believe, is just a filter on a saw wave. 1/8 notes. And then going through downsampling. Maybe the... I don't know where you get that ooh sound from. Maybe it's tuning here. It sounds louder, and it almost sounds like there's a separated sub for this. At least that is what I would usually do if I were making this sound back when I was making mid-tempo, something like this maybe too. Maybe his is just louder. Slater 8 to saw. Slater 8 through the filter. Okay. Resonance to 50. Filter cutoff to 60 Hertz. LFO 1 to filter cutoff. Filter distortion. LFO speed up. Yeah, so this is basically what we did. So everything we did except the sine wave. And then of course there's parameters that we set at a different position that he did. But that doesn't really matter. What matters to me is the sound design principle behind it. It's interesting that he's using this, not exactly a ramp up or down, and that he's using a low pass filter. Does that matter so much? I thought these sounds were made with a bandpass though. I guess it doesn't matter, does it? It's just reflecting frequencies higher up, and whether you cut out this part or not doesn't really matter, because the frequencies it's reflecting is the stuff that goes into the resonant part anyway. So those stay pretty much the same, except that now you have a stronger mid-range to it, which was exactly what we were missing. That one was easy. Next up, wobbly wobbly. These are the hard ones where you just kind of have to guess the shape of the FM modulator and carrier. Just going to start to see if I can get the tone like this. Probably something more complex. I don't think he's going to go for FM from the sub oscillator, but that means that I have no idea how to make this. It sounds distorted, so there's that. I'm actually going to just start off by listening to what I need to do here. Sounds like a triangle. No. Does it? Why is there like a slight high frequency buzzing? Gonna try FMing some triangles. There's a little bit of drifting there too. Where's that happening? Okay, I think I should be that honest. I'm never going to get this sound. Unless I do this. Oscillator A, B triangle. Oscillator B, 2 octaves plus 7 semitones, volume 0. Okay, that's already something that I wouldn't have guessed. Let's close this off so that they don't get more spoilers. And let's continue. So now it just drifts, I guess. See if we can find. Why does his have a nice sub and mine doesn't? Keep having to switch back in annoying ways. What I'm temporarily going to do is just this and that. So now I can listen to. I don't know why that sounds different. His version is a lot deeper sounding, so there's definitely something missing from just FMing the 2 triangles, even now that I have the pitch right. Oscillator 32%. Is it just lower? His version is louder. So it's the same sound, his version is just louder. Yeah, that throws you off a little bit. There it is. Okay, so now we can continue, and I already saw part of the next step, which was 230 Hz. I didn't see what filter it was, so there's that. Try to turn on the other clip without reading that. Think it's not this. Sounds like it is doing high pass stuff into distortion, but then it has a sub oscillator too. I don't think the FM is being modulated, right? I'm just going to check that. Filter cutoff and oscillator 1 warp. Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I do see that we use a bandpass, no sub oscillator, and then compression here. Still completely different. This is a very hard sound. Okay, so 2 triangles, band 24, going up like this. The shape is a little bit different. We do have a sub-oscillator. Okay. Wait, where's the third modulation? Distortion drive. He did try with the distortion. Okay, so this is just different and therefore better. I don't know. This was a very confusing one. Next one is probably also going to be confusing because I haven't done like traditional EDM in a long time. I hear a few things. I hear some glide. I hear some saw waves in oscillator B, which are like detunes and an octave higher and very low in volume, I think. So of course we go. And it has a very nasally feeling to it. So that is something that we would need to actually create. One of the ways that that's done sometimes is by very quickly modulating the coarse pitch. The other thing I hear is maybe a little bit of noise. I'm 90% sure that the approach of assigning a very fast LFO to the pitch is more done in hardstyle. That's not it, tonally, right? His version is sharper. Gonna once again go through this here. Okay, so detune, release, a pitch attack, I think, and then I don't know what this is. It feels like this may be like an EQ peak almost, or a high pass with resonance that can do the same thing. Like this very nasty feeling. Where would you get? I'm going to just oscillator A and B, so mono glide. B plus 1 octave in unison to 16. That's what we got. Release set. Envelope 2. That's what I guessed. A peak filter, which is a bell. That's exactly what I guessed. Filter resonance and drive up. And then multiband compressor in multiband mode. Okay, so there was no noise. That's the only thing that I got wrong up until this point then. And that means that the rest of the sound should be here, here-ish. I'm not setting them exactly, but very roughly. I can set this one exactly just by typing. And then I'm assuming both of them you want to have them go through it, or just oscillator A, apparently. Okay, and then this. Is that really it? To remove this one. Oh yeah, the envelope, which will be like this, right? Release here. Oh, for this one. Here-ish. Sounds different to me still, but I don't know why. Okay, so definitely a different amount of level here on oscillator B and A. So it's just louder again. Again, the shape of the saw wave doesn't really matter. I don't think you can hear a difference between ramp up and ramp down. At least not at this high of an octave. Might be true for like sidetrans basses if you're using a saw wave like that, but even then, I don't think it matters too much. But yeah, the rest is pretty much identical. Yeah, this is something This kind of sound design, to be honest, I haven't done this in, I would say, a decade. So this kind of EDM is not something that I would consider myself familiar with. Last one. Now this is acid. That's something that I'm very familiar with. Acid is made by doing this, resonance into distortion on a saw wave. There you go. Now it's just fine tuning. It feels like it's one modulation, one LFO going down. It's again fine-tuning the effect first and foremost. I also like the tonality of that first note quite a lot. It almost feels like it has some extra stuff in there. It definitely sounds different. Don't think it's gonna be the distortion. You have to be really careful with these lowest harmonics when you're doing high resonance and then distorting that, because with the phase shift, if it's moving this filter, it is going to pitch those harmonics slightly differently, and therefore all of your overtones are going to be like out of tune with the sound that you're trying to make. You can hear that wobbling if I put it lower. You can hear it almost sounds like it's starting to pitch up and down. It's definitely different sounding. It sounds sharper, which would suggest less resonance, maybe. Still sounds a lot deeper what he is doing, so I'm gonna see if I can see the checklist here. So we have saw, filter, it's a bandpass 12. Okay. Filter resonance up to 45%. Filter cutoff on the LFO. We have to somehow find the shape here. I am now kind of assuming that the shape looks somewhat like this, where you have different positions for notes. First of all, this has to be bandpass, and this goes way higher to, I guess, 886. And then I think the modulation has to be bipolar. Oh, sorry, bandpass. Sounds like this is way too high for the filter. Let's see. 8, 8, 6. Key tracking. Aha. Okay, so that makes everything simpler then, I guess. Because that will lower. Why is this then lower? Okay. And then what is our modulation like? Yeah, so just around there. But with this. Of course, the Virtual Riot one sounds nicer. Does he have extra drive? Yes, the level higher. That makes a difference, because then it goes harder into the Slight difference still in the modulation, but pretty much there with the sound. Okay. That was a lot harder than the first one. Now looking back at the first puzzle that I did, I'm scared for the third one. That's going to be wild. All right, so that took me an hour and like 19 minutes now. So that is actually pretty nice if you think about it. If you just think about where we were at the halfway point. I do think though with the latter sounds, I very quickly realized that I wasn't going to be able to do it. Which just meant that I spent less time on trying. So that's the reason why it went faster than I thought we would get halfway through. Anyway, that's my attempt at solving the second level of puzzles. Of course, I'm also going to be doing level 3 very soon. I very much hope that Virtual Riot will try out my puzzles as well. And if he likes them or you guys like them, I'll try to make some more as well. But anyway, that's going to be it for today. I hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know if you did by leaving a like and make sure that you subscribe to the channel. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.